Cool. Hey, what's up, everyone? Thursday, June 18th. I guess it's June 19th where you're at Friday, right, Lyle?
It is, yes. Yep.
Coming live
June
from
19th.
Australia. Yeah. Nice, man. Cool. Well, welcome to everyone joining the show. It's been an exciting time just, you know, getting what may very well be a return to the NBA season. Seems that way. So, a lot to be excited about. So, we'll just go over, the latest news and just kind of touch on some fantasy latest rankings and just kind of have it be that perfect segue as we get ready for, some of you, I know we'll be doing it here at Hoop Ball, starting up a little league for fun and just, enjoying what we can from the rest of the season. So, Lyles, I'll pass it over to you, man. I guess first I'll ask you, were you kind of surprised that there was a return and just anything you're looking forward to seeing, you want to see, or that you heard about that's kind of been a big shakeup with everything leading up to the start?
Yeah, I mean, around the world, sports are starting to restart. I know in Australia, our Aussie Rules has restarted. Our rugby's just started. Shout out to Ira, who I talked about AFL with on his podcast a few on the Today in Sports Betting. A couple of, it would have been last week, I think. I'm not overly surprised that it's coming back. I think at the end of the day, it's sort of got to the point now where the coronavirus, it is sort of manageable to a degree if you can isolate people and make sure that these testings are in place and the bubble, I guess, can be controlled. So you have a look at like New Zealand, for the most part, has basically eradicated it. Where I am in Perth, we've had no new cases. We've got one active case in the whole of the state. So as long as you can control what's going on and isolate people and be able to protect each other and monitor that, I think that's probably the key as to what they needed to get to be able to protect it, as well as get through the, I suppose, time spent getting to know what the coronavirus is like, how best to manage it, and you couldn't have rushed this thing back. So I think what they've managed to do, and by, I suppose, repurposing Disney World in Orlando to become NBA hub, I think is a great idea. I think everything that's coming out, and daily we're getting updates as to what's going to happen. Very, very excited for it to come back. The one thing I'm a little bit disappointed in, but I completely understand, is that it's not all the teams coming back. I think there's a whole heap of fan bases that are a little bit of upset that they're not going to see the Knicks lose some more. That's probably something that a few of the people are upset about. There was comments that were made by the Hawks. They came out and said, "Well, we're not going to see our guys again until November, December now," when really we haven't seen them since, I guess, the start of March or even end of February. So I can understand that, especially with the young core at that team. We've got a whole heap of 18, 19, up to 22-year-olds who have just basically got to go AWOL during this time. So that's probably something that if they could get something in for the guys that aren't playing, that I think would be an added bonus, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll focus on the 22. What did you think?
Yeah, no, man, I agree with you. I think you're right. All signs show that if you can control the corona, keep it isolated, and follow protocol, I think, as we've seen here in the United States, easier said than done in some instances. I know people are getting a little, stir crazy, and as restrictions have been lifted in a lot of states here, cases have actually, gone up significantly more than they were in the past weeks. But there's a lot to that, just in terms of more tests being available, more people seeking out tests. So it's hard to distinguish between more cases due to more tests available as opposed to just more people being around each other. But overall, I think you're right. There was a good chance the season could return. Where I kind of grew, unsure was, I know that they had said in one of their final statements that if it wasn't decided upon by a certain date, they probably wouldn't have it at all, which makes sense, because it kind of just prolonged and it was just so back and forth. But I do commend, the NBA, David Stern, just everybody, Adam Silver, not David Stern, Adam Silver,
Rest in peace.
RIP David Stern. I do commend Adam Silver for just like making it a priority to get everything figured out, because I think with the, so many complications and teams and logistics, it really could have been something they could have just let go down the wayside. So I'm happy to see that they managed to figure out just, finishing this NBA season. We'll see a team hold the championship. We'll see some incredible playoff series, and you can't ask for much more, especially at a time like this. So I think in regards to the teams that don't get to go, I agree. It does stink. And I imagine, like teams like the Hawks and stuff, I seen a report that they were going to try to do a summer league of some sort for the teams not going. But now that you mention it, with everything set in place, what would have been another 8 or 9 teams? Not to compete for a playoff spot, because that just doesn't make sense. But why not have it be a tournament of its own? I just think Adam Silver, as he was talking about so many different in-season tournaments and things, obviously it's not the ideal situation, being that we're in a pandemic, but it is the perfect time in terms of having tournaments, trying these things out, So I do think it was a great opportunity to have some kind of consolation of tournament for the worst of teams. I think that would have been honestly a lot to play for, being in a bracket where you're not playing for playoffs, but if you can get experience, play against other good teams at a competitive, level, that would have been great for those guys. And you still could have had a summer league, but I can't really speak on it, but I mean, what's a few more teams when you have all these protocols and things set in place, so bummer for those guys, but yeah, I mean, they definitely shouldn't just sit off and rest. They want to play too. They're young. They need to keep active. And, the longer you sit, the more work that has to be done, the more prone to injury and all those things. So I hope they do get like a good summer league. And even if it's not in Orlando, they should take that kind of idea and put it in summer league or, whatever. But I'm with you, man. All in all, I'm excited, but it's going to be interesting, man. Like, what are you looking forward to most, you think? It's just, I don't know. It's hard. The whole concept is very interesting.
I'm excited because I just have had this big void, I suppose, in this hiatus. I got so invested in it this year. Like I joined Hoopball this year. Everything was coming up and we were getting it all going. And then all of a sudden, I'd actually just started the Pelicans podcast, taking that over as well. And then all of a sudden we're on hiatus and we're sitting there going, oh, okay, I'll talk about none of the games that are on. So, that was something that I suppose caught a lot of people off guard. And again, for all the right, like you had to protect these players first and foremost. You had to protect everyone. You had to shut this down. I'm just excited to see these guys come out and compete and see what happens. This, I think, was one of the most hotly contested championships, I think, that we've had in recent memory. Even with the Raptors winning last year, they were still a phenomenal team all year. And it wasn't that surprising that they made it into the finals there. And then when Golden State sort of imploded and had all the injuries and the like, that it just wasn't viable for them to be able to compete, especially the way Kawhi was winning. This year, I mean, you're looking at Giannis, you're looking at LeBron, you're looking at Kawhi. Houston is no doubt going to come out firing as well. All the way down, Philly, Celtics look good. The Raptors again. I just think this year there's a top 6 to, I suppose, 12 teams that could honestly have a real good run at it, depending on what they come back like from this hiatus. Look at Portland Trailblazers. They're going to get Big Nurkic back. They're going to have Zach Collins back as well, apparently, plus whatever they manage to pull together from this extended roster that they're going to have the extra 2 places. You've got Gary Trent Jr., who has just come out of nowhere and has turned into a bit of a gun, a bit of a sniper off the bench, playing that Alan Crabb role from a few years ago. I'm excited to see what happens. Even the guys outside of the playoffs, the ones vying in, the Pels, of course, they look phenomenal. You get a healthy team out of them. Memphis will be healthy again. Dallas is another underrated team. I just think there's so many good teams this year in all the 22. Even the Wizards could have a run. They'll have a crack. Bradley Beal, you can't ever count him out. I think that's what's most exciting. I don't know. Honestly, I listened to the All the Smoke podcast that had John Wall and had Bradley Beal on it. And that there was rumblings, but again, nothing set in stone. He hasn't said, but that would be next level if he came back. Apparently he's fit and he's ready to go, healthiest he's ever been.
Yeah, no, man, I'm with you. There's so many, and like you said, the players we just didn't even, even consider playing in a playoff just because things going the way they were. They would just be making a comeback, or they would be a non-factor and not really play at all because it's not worth risking the injury. So now, like, there's been new light having, this minimum of 3 months or so to just kind of continue to rehab, continue to ramp up. And yeah, they're going to be ready to go, and for the guys who are kind of on the cusp, like John Wall and stuff, it's like you actually have a legit opportunity, and it's funny because I've seen a report and I was talking to a buddy of mine about this, but it, was kind of more smoke and mirrors, but it said if the Nets got the Lakers first round, KD and Kyrie, would play. And we just talked about, like, what if, KD and Kyrie just came off guns a-blazing, that would just be unreal, just to see that in action. And in a playoff game, an East-West team playing not even in the finals would just be obscene, especially given everything that's happened. But I think it's pretty safe to say KD won't play, but man, I mean, shoot, I would have lived to see that matchup. That would have been a dream matchup. But I think just what I'm looking forward to most is like seeing the matchup breakdown. Is it going to be an East versus West thing? How is the elimination going to go? It's just going to be so much going on, man. And gosh, even despite having a pandemic and, you don't have fans crowding, the stadium, it's still just going to be one of the most incredible things we've seen, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and they talk about, will this have an asterisk on it? And I think if the asterisk is that they had to play through a global pandemic. I think it's been harder this year than it has been in other years, purely because you've had 3 months of off-season, basically, where these guys can basically left to their own devices. It wasn't that long ago that we were talking about what are we going to do to fill the void, and we were watching the NBA players play 2K. On ESPN, so things like that. Now we're gearing up to play again, and those guys back then were saying we haven't picked a basketball up since we finished. So I know they'll be ramping up now, but I suppose the biggest controversy is what hotel you get to stay in. Did you see the breakdown of the hotels based on seating?
Yeah. No, man, you're right. So I'll ask you, do you feel that way? You feel like there's any kind of asterisk as far as like the competition? Because, I mean, I don't want to answer the question, before, you do, obviously. But, I mean, just one quick thing that comes to mind is I feel like even with it being kind of like set up in different times, everyone has the same competitive advantage or disadvantage,
Yeah, exactly. It hasn't changed the situation at all. I don't think anyone has been favoured in this. You might get a comfier bed staying in whatever hotel you're in, but otherwise you're pretty much in the same boat. Everyone's had to leave their home. So that's something that no doubt will be hotly contested. And I don't know. I think, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, shifting gears to more of a, fantasy perspective, because we definitely wanted to hit on, as we're talking about, I know for us at Hoop Ball, we'll be all over this little bit of the season we get and just picking away all of it that we can, all the fantasy insights, just everything to monitor and see. So let me ask you, man, because I know things kind of ended abruptly. We're going to take a look at, these season rankings and how they kind of played out. I want to ask you, was there anything as far as end of season rankings that you were surprised as far as players pushing up, or that you kind of thought you were surprised that they kind of slid down, or somewhere in the middle, the steady eddies that you thought kind of like stayed in that 7 through 10 range that you could kind of bank on for next year and years to come? Kind of like a 3-part question, but break it down however you.
I mean, the guy that you can always bank on, I think, is Damian Lillard. You're going to be able to get him at between 8 and 9. If he slides any lower, say in a 12-team 9-cat, Dame Lillard has just carried teams. I had him in 2 leagues, and I won those leagues based on Yahoo just shutting it down, and that was, I reckon, 90% because he is just so solid. You know exactly what you're going to get. Yeah. Jokic, I think, is another guy, especially now he's skinny. The bloke's lost something like 20 pounds in the off-season. He looks lean. He looks strong. His biggest knock was that he was fat coming into the seasons, and he always does. He goes home and eats, it looks like. So, he's skinny now and looks phenomenal. If this is what he looks like now, what is he going to be like on the court? He's going to be phenomenal. So I think Jokic is definitely one that I think is just underrated. He's always going to be top 5 to 6, and you say underrated, but he's still going to be taken in that top 10. But I think he's almost the forgotten man in that top 10. You're going through a thing, you go, oh yeah, Jokic, you forget about him. I mean, I'm not a Denver fan. I don't follow them closely at all. So when his name comes up, you go, oh, what does he do? Then you have a look at his production, and it is phenomenal. He fits into any team, any build, because he does everything. And for a center that gets the 6 or so, 7 assists, the odd triple-double, it's invaluable. You can't you can't put a price on that, I think. In terms of the biggest surprise in terms of riser, I think it's Brandon Ingram. That guy, I think, finished the season in the top 50 or so, I think, or top 25 he was. It's 25th, 9-cap average, season averages. And he took a huge jump. I mean, preseason ranked 120 to finish in the top 25. You could see his production in game when you watched it, as well as on the fantasy stats. And that was just purely, I think, the confidence that came from it. I don't think he was ever a bad basketballer. I think he just got to step out of the shadow of LeBron and lead his own team. And you see this like Kevin Durant light, which I think was awesome to see for Pels fans, but also if you had him on your fantasy team and got him in the, 4th, 5th round, and then all of a sudden you're getting near on second round value, you're pretty happy with that. Yeah. What did you think?
Well, man, I agree with you. I like the Jokic mention. I've just never seen a player who you feel comfortable when you draft him. You know he's going to return value, maybe even higher, and you can't but just pull your hair out when he's just kind of stagnant and just, especially this season, he's looking out of shape. You're like, is this guy ever going to get there? And he always not only meets but exceeds expectations. I just don't get it. Every time, it's just so crazy to watch. His ability to rebound, assist, score, a solid contribution, even knock in, about 0.6, 0.7 threes a game, very efficient, low turn. He even gets some I'll say acceptable D stats. You'll take it, all things considered. But to get a guy like that and know he's just going to turn it on the way he does, you're getting him in that 7 to 10 range. So if you got him, especially 8 or 9, you're turning around and getting another stud there. And for Jokic to push up to maybe 6, 7, even fifth overall value is so key because people are going to pass on him. He's still growing on people. And excuse me, I like how you mentioned Damian Lillard because I feel like Damian is what Jokic is going through now. Because Damian was that guy who kind of hovered around 7 or 8 and he would just explode. And actually, it was years of him getting drafted 11th, 12th, and finishing 7th overall that it finally people realized I got to get him in the top 10. You cannot not get D-Lil in the top 10, and I feel like that's where Jokic, he's right there. I think after this season, it's pretty solidified because you had your doubts about him because you just didn't know. And we're talking fantasy basketball here. How often have we seen players just kind of disappear, especially Jokic, who we didn't know if it was his physical fitness, We didn't know if it just wasn't happening for him, and that's the last thing you want to wonder about your top pick, you know. So to see him come alive the way he did, I think that just solidifies like what you're getting when you get a guy like him. But as far as players who were surprised, and I really did like your Brandon Ingram, you know, I mean, because dude, in some leagues, my buddy, like my really good friend Ray, shout out to him, but he got Brandon Ingram in like the 12th or 13th round, dude. I mean, just, and it's, dude, and I'll be honest with you, Lyle, the year before, I was like in my fifth or sixth pick, and I needed a small forward. And that's when all the hype was gearing up for Brandon Ingram, praised by LeBron. But I loved his game. You know, he's lengthy, he's athletic. He really has just a really versatile game, kind of like that of KD, you know. And I was thinking, like, this is his year. It's just a matter of time. And obviously that didn't quite live up to it, right? But I'm just thinking to myself, like, kicking myself, even from back then, because I'm like, dude, I was a year too early, you know? Even getting a guy like that, I mean, you figure what was then probably a bold pick of getting him fifth, sixth round. If I would have got him this year, that would have returned value like 2 or 3 times over, you know? Like, he really exploded. But I just think it's good for him, you know, because I think he's such a talented player. We see so often where guys just don't get in the right team, right system. They just never adjust. And their career just doesn't pan out what they thought it would be. So I feel like he's just been completely, you know, reinvigorated. Like, he's in New Orleans. I mean, you could argue, I mean, if Zion is the face of that franchise, Brandon Ingram's 1B. You know, I mean, like, you got to look at it like that because he's that talented. He's only going to get better. So I think it's just been a great thing. You know, like the Pelicans overall, I've always loved that team. I loved them because they were always like an underdog and they had AD. And, you know, I loved AD as a player. And even with him moving to LA, I feel like the players that have filled in have adapted that culture, that reputation of the team and filled in well. And they have some just young running gun guys, good veteran presence. And it's going to be great to watch them in the coming years, man. So I like to tune into your podcast to make sure I have all the latest on it.
But, yeah, no, we've got plenty coming up on there. Quick plug.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
I completely agree. You know, another guy that pops to mind is contract year Hassan Whiteside. Bloke went off, man. He absolutely chopped on fantasy. He was taken like at 100, 120, I think, in my league. He finished, like, at one point, I think he was 6th or something on the year. And I was sitting there going, this is unbelievable. You know, he absolutely fluctuated. I don't know where he finished. There, he finished 8th on the year. That is unbelievable. And, you know, we've seen it before that Whiteside in a contract year is just like this other beast where he's like, hang on, I've got to actually get more millions now. I'm not just locked in, can't just slack off.
Right.
And he absolutely chopped. So, you know, you're getting nearly 3.5 defensive stats from this bloke, as well as a double-double, 16 and 14. He was just absolutely awesome this year. His free throws, which is a big knock, they got up to nearly 70%, as well as the strong field goal percentages you expect from a center, but just exploded. Another guy that I was just like, how could I have predicted that? And I should have, because that's what we do, I guess. But it really caught me off guard how good he was.
Man, I'm with you. And it's funny you say that because, I mean, you know, you got to trust your gut, right? You got to go with what you know, but you got to look at the numbers. And when Whiteside was coming into this year, I thought to myself, I've seen this guy dominate. When he gets the minutes, he gets the playing time, he's a beast. It was like one of the first, maybe my second or third year doing fantasy. I think it was like 2016, right? It was a year where he was just like a top 10 guy. He was a beast on the Heat, led the league in blocks. And I thought to myself, this is still who he is. I felt like, you know, same situation with Brandon Ingram. You're in a new environment. You're not getting like kind of like worked around by the coach, right? You're going to get a workload. They need you. The front court's thin. And I mean, dude, talk about the fantasy steal of the year. I mean, wow. he really was like, oh my gosh, man. So I think I told you this, you and I were pretty like frequent back and forth, trades, different stuff on the year about, just what was going on, different propositions. So I traded for him and I gave Luka and Donovan Mitchell for him and Tatum. And the way my team was set up, it was just what I needed. And to your point of like Whiteside, I'm someone, and I'm sure Lyle, you can attest to this and others, but until you really have a player on your team, you don't realize the impact they have. And once I had Whiteside and those elite rebounds, field goal percentage, blocks, dude, I mean, you're a shoe in for 3 categories alone. Just having him and the right pieces around that. And I mean, that's what I play head to head, 9-cat. And man, it was just, dude, I was on the cusp of making the playoffs and I was rolling, man. I really think I was going to be that dark horse. We'll never know. But I mean, it was all thanks to making that trade. I mean, having him on my team, I was blown away because he was going to get you at least 2 blocks, at least 13 rebounds, and probably about 12, 14 points a game. That was his ceiling. That was his that was his floor. That was his floor. And I mean, anything else was just, I mean, he could single-handedly win you the block category, man. It was just, oh my gosh. It was unreal, man. So I'm with you there. One guy I will say that as far as someone who kind of was, I didn't expect, right? I didn't expect them to maintain or take a step forward, if you will. I got to say was Russell Westbrook. He's just game the way he did. I felt like, and I didn't want to believe it because I'm a huge Thunder fan. I got my SGA jersey on now, because it comes with the times. But I've always loved Russ and knew he was more than a capable player. But the free throw percentage has been concerning. Obviously, the field goal, while I knew he was capable, you just didn't predict him to just kind of revert back to being more efficient and improving, But he just adapted so well, and he adapted so well in Houston, and it was a perfect fit. And I think with him, I mean, we got spoiled by Russ having a triple double every game. Even him like going 20, like 6, 8 to 7 on the year is huge, and the steal numbers were up a lot better from the free throw and field goal. Like that was a heck of a guy to get, which was Lyles. I don't know about your ranking, but on mine, I'm seeing he was 11th. What do you got on your end?
No, I mean, I don't know what I'm looking at. I had him at, this reckons 33, but I might be looking at the wrong thing.
Okay.
But again,
I guess could.
He's the sort of guy, I completely agree, that he absolutely killed and didn't destroy Harden either, because I had James Harden in my main league, and I was like, Westbrook's there, ball's going to be out of his hands, and Harden absolutely chopped. He was still top 2, I think, overall, or top 3, even with the fact that they basically built this team so that Westbrook could still thrive by going down the lane, and then you just had shooters, and he just had to make the pass, and all of a sudden you've got House, Harden, McElmore, PJ Tucker. They're all just sitting there, just splashing threes. Robert Covington. That team is the biggest question mark, I think, in this playoffs coming forward. Actually, I don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
They might get absolutely dominated by.
They could,
teams, but who knows?
Man.
They could also run teams off the court. It's
that'd be interesting to see. Yeah. No, he was good, man. I mean, just having him kind of revert back to his old way. I mean, I've seen on one ranking he was 11th, 14th, even, on the one you've seen 33. I mean, that just further proves the point. If you're getting a player at that late in the game who has top 10 upside, I mean, that's a steal. I mean, because he he had one of his best fantasy seasons probably since his MVP year, and
Yeah.
I mean, wow. So I was very impressed by that. I guess another guy or group of guys, you could say. I mean, we kind of anticipated how they would play wasn't that much of a surprise. But I will say, because it wasn't for me, but the guys, if you rolled the dice on Luka Trae Young in that top 10 round, I mean, it obviously paid off, and that it's hard to know because, you got guys who come in, rookies early in the year. You just don't know if they're going to maintain that type of production, let alone get better, and that's exactly what those guys did. So I was not too surprised, but just more impressed because, I mean, I know me, I'm not so much, Dan, as I just stick to my old guys, right? But I do stick to what I know. Like I do stick to what I know, and I was just unsure. But I mean, those are going to be top. I mean, you could go as far to say top 5 players for years and years to come, and I think they're only going to get better. But you know what? That reminds me. Where do you personally, Lyle, value someone like Trae Young? I feel like he has his pros, cons, with the turnovers and things, but when he's on, I feel like he's really on. In the elite assist production, 3 production. Is that someone you take a stab at, like top 6, or is that too early for you?
I think next year you could definitely consider it. I think again it has to come down to who's available at the time. So
sure.
It's difficult. Like for me, I was lucky. I've already started a couple of other Fantrax drafts that we did in the offseason with a few different guys, and he went very early. It was a dynasty one, or dynasty that went he went very early. I think if you're looking for a guy that can almost the Dame Lillard sort of spec, high scoring, you're going to get a fair few assists out of him. I think going forward, I think next year he's going to be definitely in the top 10. In terms of jumping guys like AD, Harden, Giannis, Kat, you sort of that he's probably that next tier. Jokic just probably rounds out that top 5, and then you're looking at guys like Lillard, Embiid, probably Trae Young, Doncic will be in there as well. And I think Doncic next year could probably sneak towards that top 5 as well. That guy, I've seen him absolutely decimate. We played, I don't know if you remember, but my main league adds triple doubles and double doubles. And so when you've got like a Doncic in there who's getting the triple double every 3rd or 4th game, he just absolutely dominated all year. So whoever had him I think the guy actually had him and Giannis and didn't make the playoffs because his team was the rest of his team was trash, and I don't know what happened, but
that's a heck of a start.
Good. Yeah, exactly what he had to do was just not mess up the rest, but he managed to. But I think in terms of Trae Young, he's definitely a first round, if not at the turn. So probably maybe like 12, 13 at the latest. But then you're still trying to sneak in Bradley Beal. You're sneaking in Jimmy Butler. It's hard because there's so many names that you want to take. And I think guys will reach for him and try to take him in that top 5. I don't think he's a top 5 player. Maybe definitely top 10. But I think a realistic place that you'll be able to get him again is about 15, depending. He's a bit of a hypey player as well. You know what I mean? People are like, oh, Trae Young, this guy's wicked. So he might go higher than that. I personally probably not taking him there, especially if a guy like Dame's still on the board, a guy like Embiid's still on the board. I'm taking those guys over him. It's probably controversial.
Definitely.
What do you think?
Man, no, I mean, honestly, you said it perfectly. I'm right there with you. There are always guys, at least for, the years to come, who take priority over the up-and-coming young guns. I mean, simply because, like, you know what you're getting, and the value you're getting is so much more well-rounded, we had Cat dang near making more threes than everyone else in the NBA to start, and when you got that and everything else in the bag, you can't pass someone like that, same with guys like Giannis, Harden, obviously. But I think it's just cool to see, they hit the ground running so young that they're already like bona fide fantasy studs. And I mean, what? That was year 2 for him?
Yeah.
Year 2. Gosh,
Mm.
I mean, they just got so good so quickly. It seems like they've been there at least 3 or 4. But nah, man, I mean, who knows? They speak about the Luka Magic. You know, 1 minute he's modestly contributing, then he's triple doubling. I wouldn't be surprised if the same reason you don't draft him, let that be these stats, he's putting in a steal and half a block a game. You just never know with that guy, you know. So I think the upside is there. If you're maybe in a toss up with like, you know, someone towards the end and you just want to roll the die, I think it could certainly pay dividends, you know.
Yeah.
So I like it. I think it just kind of spices up the talk of the top 10 and, you know, it just adds more fantasy studs to pick from. So, no, I think they're definitely top 10 considerations and they can only get better from there. But while we're on the topic of young guns, I want to ask you about one of my favorite players. I'm kind of representing him here right now, you know, to give you a little hint, right? You know, my man SGA, I'm still kind of it's still a touchy subject for me. I tell you, Lyle, because SGA, I was big on him last year. I drafted him. Everyone in my league was like, who is this guy with this super long last name? He doesn't even have a picture yet. And just went out balling. You know, like his unique fantasy skill set, it was just like tantalizing. Like, wow, he can really ball. And then I'm already loving the Clippers. Then they go ahead and trade him to the Thunder, and I'm just like, dude, what is going on? But, man, he had a heck of a season, man. And on my rankings here, I'm looking at him 28th overall. Gosh, he probably wasn't, even with the hype train running, he probably wasn't picked until 5th or 6th round. Lyles, I got to tell you, and I don't want to say this was a wash, but being another player I like and being someone who definitely turned it up, I was eyeing SDA and people are picking. There's one guy to go and then me. I'm scrolled down. I got it queued up. I said, surely he's not going to go down and get him. Dude, Lyle, he picked him one pick before me. I did not get him. I was so, dude, I was hurt, man. I was like, oh my gosh. But I thought, who's another player I like and is the best kind of comparable player to fill that? Had to go on my man Karis LeVert. And obviously that didn't do me too poorly towards the end there. So kind of worked out. But what do you think about Shai, man? Like, what do you think coming into the season? What do you think about the end? Yeah.
Guy is absolute beast, honestly. What is he, 20 or if that, 21 or something, you know?
I think, 19, 20.
Pull George off and then get this kid back, and then to be able to pair him with Chris Paul, who's basically arguably one of the best point guards in memory.
Yeah.
You know, all that is going to do is improve this guy. And from all reports at the Clippers, he was, Doc Rivers has said, this guy was like a sponge. All he wanted to do was learn. He wanted to improve. He wanted to be great. And you cannot teach that mentality. You basically, you either have it or you don't. And if a guy like that has it already, I mean, he had a couple of triple doubles. He was leading. Where's the Thunder? They're 7th or something or 7th or 6th.
Man, they were rolling.
No one expected him to be there. No one.
No.
And this team were absolutely bringing it to every team flat out. You cannot count this guy out, honestly. And you could see points in the season where Chris Paul was deferring to this guy. Yeah. And that, to me, is, well, if greatness recognised greatness, you know what I mean? So, honestly, biggest props for him. We've got his cousin on the Pels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So, if he turns into like even half of what Shai is, you know, we're very excited for that. So, yeah, I think the future is bright in OKC. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is an absolute weapon, and I think he's just going to – the sky's the limit for him. He's very underrated, and that, I've got him in these dynasty drafts I've been doing. I picked him up in all of them. So I am very, very high on him. I think he takes another leap next year, and I think he is going to absolutely blow this league apart very quietly because he doesn't seem to get as much hype as he probably deserves. But people have just got to sit up and listen and say, look at this skinny, long kid who is absolutely chopping. So, I'd be pretty happy to have him. And I think, grabbing his jersey's not a bad little investment.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I've been a huge Thunder fan. And it's funny, I moved from Michigan to Kansas, and I'm actually only an hour and a half away from OKC. So I went to a game, had to get this jersey there. Yeah, it was awesome. I was lucky to I can cross that off my bucket list now, man. But no, it's a heck of a story. He is an incredible player, and I think anytime you have those unique guards who just, rack up D stats like it's nobody's business, and the rebounds. What did he have? Maybe more than 20 rebound game? Like this, I can't make sense of it, man. I don't know. I can't. And he's like, I guess you may know it, but he's like a 6'6", 6'7" point guard.
Yeah.
Like he's long, man. Yeah. But no, man.
6'5".
It's been incredible to see. 6'5"?
Yeah.
Okay. 6'5".
That's still a big guy at the point.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's long, crazy long. But just to set the record straight, because I'll tell you what, I was optimistic, Lyle, about the Thunder. And realistically, if you would have asked me, I'm not trying to be biased, I would have told you a 7 seed. But I thought when you said 7, I was like, oh, let me double check. And Lyle, to my surprise, you know what they finished?
No, 7, weren't they?
5th.
Good see. Oh, they're in the fancy hotel then.
Yeah. And I think it's like you said, you wouldn't have thought, but man, like you said, getting SGA back, of trading Paul George, but not only that, in the short term, having a guy like Gallo and CP.
Oh yeah.
And man, it's just like, that team, if you really look at it, you wouldn't notice it, but you see them play, the pieces around them, dude, they got a team.
Steve Adams still there.
A great cohesive framework. Yep, Steve Adams is still there. But yeah, it's been special to see, man. They've been winning games like it's nobody's job, man. And 40 and 24. Honestly, about one game down from the Jazz for the 4th spot at that, So they really had a good go. Technically, they're tied with the Rockets, but I think they have the tiebreaker. Them beating them by about 30, then, that didn't hurt either, earlier when they put the beat down on the Rockets. So, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're looking good, man. So, how about you? Any other guys that you think may surprise us? Any steady 80s to just keep it going, or people you wanted to kind of touch on before we close things out?
A guy I reckon that, and I know the hoopballers have been right onto him. Rashawn Holmes is a guy that I picked up off the waiver wire. If he didn't get injured, he was like top 5, man. I picked him. I don't know who it dropped. I think I had PJ Tucker and drafted him. I was like, nah, we'll get rid of him, take a role, like a flyer on this. And that was in my streaming spot. And then I didn't have one because I had to keep him all year. And he sat there and he was like in the top 5 in all these different stat categories. It was guys like Giannis that he was beating because of just his production, as well as defensive stats, and his percentages were just, he was the sort of guy that you just plugged in and didn't do anything wrong. So that was a guy. Jonathan Isaac, before he got injured as well, that guy was a walking defensive win. If you had him, you were getting like nearly 5 defensive stats a game. You were just closing people out on those 2. You were like, well, I'm starting 2 up on you on the season already, like on the week. You had no chance. That was a guy that quad contusion or quad tear or whatever he had, that was just devastating because he was flying. And the injuries are.
Do you trust that to carry over?
I think he'll be right. I think Magic sort of held him out, thinking that if they got him back towards the playoffs, he would be he might be ready. But now that he's had 3 months of rest, I think he'll be straight back in. And really, Orlando have the home court advantage a bit, don't they? Because they haven't had to go anywhere. So
yeah,
they could definitely surprise a few people. The Magic over in the East. They'll get faced with who if they make it through and the Wizards don't jump them, which probably I don't think the Wizards will get there, but they'll push them. They're going to have to face the Bucks, and I think Isaac's going to have to be a big, big part of playing on Giannis and playing on those longer guys, Chris Middleton as well. They're going to have him because otherwise they'll just get punished. I think that those are a couple of guys. Any other guys that I think of, some of the other guys like Devontae Graham had a great season. He was another waiver wire guy that at Charlotte, someone had to score there, and he stepped up and took that role on. He finished top 50, I think, when you were getting him off the scrap heap. But at the start of the season, I rolled the dice on this. My mate took Devontae Graham, and I took Dwayne Bacon, because both of them looked like either one of them could do it. Bacon then took the backseat and then got dropped to the G League, dropped 50 in the G League at one point. But
wow, I
was devastated because he was looking good too. But they're similar players, so they've eaten into each other's minutes. I think they were probably the key ones that I think. Do you have any other guys that you thought were pretty good?
No, man, honestly, I think you hit on, like you said, a lot of the key ones. It's the ones who came out of nowhere, the ones who you kind of hoped they would keep it going, and like the Rashawn Holmes of the world, just needed that right spot, right opportunity. So, man, I'm just looking forward to all of this goodness come July 30th, man, and then to get in the later rounds and stuff, so. But no, man, I think you hit it. I think you said it perfectly. And I think we're definitely counting the days, a little over a month until we're there, but it'll come in no time, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to fly. And I'll be looking forward to this hoopball draft, because I'll be coming for all of you.
Oh, hey, likewise, man. Hey, Lyle, you're a great buddy of mine, but it's just business. I'll tell you in advance. It'll be fun, man. I can't wait. I gotta, right. I gotta dust the rust off, man. I gotta fine tune my fantasy skills. It's been so long. I don't know what I've been doing. It's funny you said that, because I told my girlfriend how the NBA was starting back up. She said, "Wow, I haven't heard you talk about basketball in a while." So, yeah, I think it was probably all I talked about. Geez. So, man, it'll be good. So I can't wait.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
We've got the New Zealand NBL starting soon, so that starts 23rd of June. Okay. So that's the New Zealand Basketball League. They've built a hub in Auckland. So in Australia, where I just want to watch it because I just want some basketball back. But because our NBL runs the same time as the NBA, so we're a bit later on in the year that will start about October or November, I think. They might even push it back. So that is like 6 weeks of basketball. You can watch, I think it's $15 to get the league pass, watch every game. So I'm just like, well, get it done, watch that. Get it
done. There you go.
Yeah, that'll be good fun.
Come on, man.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm ready. The AFL's back. Sport is back. I had to find other things to entertain myself during the time, and that was difficult because I realised that basketball was basically my main hobby. So
I hear you, man.
It was very, very difficult to see, but we're getting there. Excited. 6 weeks, and Fantasy will be back. We'll get at least 8 games from every team, so that'll be exciting, and no doubt I'll be giving you all the business in this draft.
Okay. Hey, I'm looking forward to it, man. Well, hey, Lyles, and I think that'll do it, for us in hoopball. Did you have any lasting remarks, man?
No, not at all. Just make sure that everyone's tuning into everything we've got going on. You know, the expansion drafting still flying. That's actually going to marry up completely. I think the draft they're talking about is going to be the week of the NBA starting up again. So they're doing great things over on the Wednesday night podcast, on the live show. There's all the podcasts are happening. I think they're still recruiting as well. Dan's saying that they're looking for stuff for guys to jump on. Make sure you bail up Dan Bespress, or the Hoopball Twitter page as well. There's heaps going on. Make sure you listen to Saturday Night Lyle. That's still going. We just had episode 20 last week, so we're flying with that. I can't believe we've been going for 6 months now, so that's been good fun. There's just heaps going on, and we've unlike a lot of places, you know, that have shut down, we've just kept the ball rolling, and you know, we just keep it going and talk as much basketball as we can. That's what we love. That's why we do it. So, that's probably all from me. Make sure you keep supporting us and keep it going, I think.
Yeah, man. Hey, that's perfectly said. Couldn't have said it any better. So, thank you guys for tuning in. You know, as Lyle said, catch us on the Wednesday show, Thursday, the Saturday night special with Lyle. And, we'll keep it going. The hype train will be steady ramping up all the way to, our draft day with the league we have going on, and just, man, the great, beautiful NBA, the sport of basketball, as we know it, will be back, man. And it's going to be great, man. I mean, so many teams, so many players, just waiting to get back out there. And I guess just last noteworthy thing, hopefully it's not too crazy, but definitely, keep in mind that coming up June 24th, all teams have to report as to whether or not they want to play. So hopefully we don't see any, huge names or, really anyone. I mean, I completely understand it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's personal choice all the way, but hopefully, no too big players or, too many people for that matter, because that would really shake things up. So we'll be eager and, keeping you posted on the live news, and, we're going to keep this thing rolling. And I'll correct Lyle and tell him I look forward to putting a beat down on him in the Hoopball League. So on that note, man, hey, it was a pleasure, Lyle. Guys, I haven't done a show with you in so long, man.
Yeah, catching up. Much too long, absolutely. Really enjoyed it, and bring it on, I guess.
Yeah, all right, bring it on, man. So thank you for tuning in. You guys have a great night. Until next time.
See you guys.
See you.